Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
They've worked very hard, as all teams do. But, in order to win a national championship, things got to come together for you. And it's come together for this team so far. And I would just be so happy for them because it would be a memory that they'd have forever.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network on a hot Wednesday afternoon. From downtown Columbia, which is a buzz, of course, for many reasons, but primarily, I think Sir Paul is in town. I saw this big bus downtown Columbia next to the Sheraton Hotel. Maybe he's staying at the Sheraton. Maybe he's staying
across the street here?
Right across the street, wow. One of these big old buses.
That's the fake bus.
You think?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I might have to camp out there all night.
Why would he roll in this early, the day before?
Well, rehearsal and have dinner somewhere in downtown Columbia.
I saw a reservation for Sir Paul at the Blue Marlin.
And, work the vocal cords a little bit, get used to the heat and the atmosphere. Paul McCartney tomorrow night in concert. The Corn will be there. This will be officially concert number 4 for me.
Your entire life, 4?
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
Let's see. Whitney Houston was number 1.
That's really embarrassing.
Ray Charles.
Okay.
And the Rayettes was number 2.
Has anybody still alive that you've seen in concert?
That's a good question. Let's see. Whitney Houston, Ray Charles. Yes, Reba and George Strait are still alive.
Yes, they are.
Bless their
was
hearts.
that the same concert? Or was that your
same
third
concert?
Board?
No, that was same concert. They were a dual. They were co-headline. It was George Strait's concert, but Reba was the undercard.
Okay.
Yeah,
I have 2 levels of concerts. Concerts when I used to imbibe in those. When I stopped.
You don't remember those concerts, huh?
No, I do.
Oh, okay.
I went to a concert last week in Charleston. I saw the Wailers. Bob Marley's Wailers
were Boston Whalers. I thought they had moved.
Yeah. The Hartford Whalers.
Yeah.
That's what they were, the Boston Bruins. But anyway.
Oh, yeah.
The best concert probably I saw when I used to imbibe was in the Fox in Atlanta Weather Report.
As Corey Miller would say, never heard of them.
Yeah, I would agree.
Great. Joe Zawinul used to be keyboard player for Miles Davis. Mm-hmm. I can keep naming them, but I won't. Oh, it was fun because a bass player, Jaco Pastorius.
I did not mean to get us off on this tangent.
But he left.
There we go. Best concert ever. Go.
He left, and a 19-year-old came in, and you playing with jazz greats around him, and he was solid. That was and Rum and Coke was good too.
All right, to the show we get to because there's big news out of Clemson as one of the Tiger football players is in the stew. And we'll tell you about that coming up in just a moment. And there could be some other movement on the Clemson football team here in the near future as some things are going on there that we'll tell you about coming up after the break. Bottom of the hour, Jack Leggett. He has a job. He's not getting paid for it, but he has a job, and that is Sports Talk analyst for the national championship game. He has accepted our offer for no pay to come on tonight and break it down for us. Of course, he knows
he's still getting a paycheck, so at least we don't have to feel too guilty.
Exactly.
Fire Coaches Club.
And Matt Heath, new coach at the College of Charleston in hour number 2. All right, back on Sports Talk. Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes. Our phone number, 800-956-7266. Our email, talkback@sportstalksc.com. And on Twitter, @SportsTalkSC is how you can reach us. The news out of Clemson, place kicker Amon Lacob facing DUI and cocaine possession charges. Story we broke on SportsTalkSC.com late last night, early this morning. He was arrested June 6th in Clemson, charged with possession of cocaine and driving under the influence. Both charges listed as a first offense for Lacob. And he was booked at the Clemson City Jail, released on a $2,500 personal recognizance bond. He has been suspended by Clemson. Today, the Tigers put out a release quoting Dabo Swinney. We are aware of Amon's arrests, and he was will be evaluated later in the summer. End of the quote. He was a starting place kicker last season, a semifinalist for the Lou Groza Award, 21 of 28 on field goals, 43 of 44 on extra points. He is the second Tiger football player that we know of to have an issue with the law this offseason. Back in May, defensive end Ebenezer Okendeko was dismissed from the team in May after his arrest for one count of financial transaction fraud. We have the entire police report on our website, sportstalksc.com, so I'm not going to take up all the time and read it here. But K-Mac, I know you've gone over it. Why don't you just summarize for us a little bit about the police report?
Yeah,
some of the details.
Apparently he was leaving the downtown area near the Bar District in Clemson, and a police officer saw him get into his car. And when he drove by, according to the report, he looked glossy-eyed. They followed him, and he was drifting on the road. They pulled him over, at which time they asked him if he was on any medication. He said yes, he was hurt, had injured ankles and shoulder. The police said he was walking around fine, but did fail the field sobriety test. He said he'd been running until he puked at a workout, and
he cited a coach.
Cited a coach. So the coaches had me running until I puked. And again, this is coming from somebody that the police say was intoxicated. He did refuse the breathalyzer and the blood alcohol testing, but the police also found a small, they described it as a chapstick container. I'm holding one here. I don't know. That had a small amount of cocaine, street value $50, that they tested, and it was, in fact, cocaine. So he was charged with possession of cocaine as well. That's the one that's probably going to really cost him.
Every case is an individual case, stands on its own merit, but we saw that Clemson dismissed Ebenezer Okendeko for his financial transaction fraud, which amounted to a misdemeanor, but it was a serious offense, and he was dismissed. And, I would think the same, of course, I'm one that's always like, give a guy a chance if it's a first offense, which it is, and if he's been in good standing in your program and that has not been a problem. But you're right, the cocaine thing is another hard category to look past.
That one's a little more scary. People now, marijuana is actually legal in some states. It's still illegal, yada, yada, yada. I'm not downplaying it or promoting it, but you have a different connotation with marijuana and cocaine. And that's just the bottom line. So, but I do find it interesting in that release. Dabo he isn't kicked off the team. He is suspended.
Correct.
With Okendeko, he was gone. We got the release, but the release came out first, and then we found out about the arrest, which had happened previously. It is very difficult to find out about Clemson players getting arrested unless you are Phil Kornblut, apparently.
They've done a good job. I don't think I'm not saying they intentionally tried to cover this thing up. Perhaps nobody had a reason to ask. Nobody checked. Unless you check the police blotter every day, you're not going to run across something. You go back to the Okendeko case. I think it was also what was the period of time between his arrest and his dismissal? Do you recall?
I don't.
We can look it up.
Yeah, we can.
I'll pull the story up. But I think there was a little bit of time, maybe not as much as this one. We'll go back and check. Also from Clemson, the our man David Hood working on a story there. He doesn't have anything finalized yet. David Hood is TigerNet, but there's some rumblings about Isaiah Battle at Clemson, who is right now the starting left tackle. And some are questioning whether or not he will be back with the football team this fall. Don't know exactly what this is all about, but it's somewhat of a question right now. And also there's some question about J.J. McCullough and his future status with the team. So the Tigers going through a little bit of upheaval here in the offseason with some players. Most unusual for Clemson to have an arrest, and in this case, a couple of arrests within a few weeks of each other that have resulted in one dismissal and possibly a second. All right, so that is the story on that. Monty Lee, Clemson's new baseball coach, we're told that he's zeroing in on his pitching coach, and something could be done by Thursday or Friday on that. The two names I've heard, the pitching coach at Wilmington and the pitching coach at Duke, are two possibilities that I've heard.
Williams and D, I think is the guy's name for Duke.
Those are the two possibilities that we're hearing right now. And let's see, what else did I need to mention to you before we get to phone calls here tonight? 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Charleston Southern has created the Singleton Memorial Fund in memory of Chris Singleton's mother, Sharonda Coleman Singleton. Ms. Singleton was one of the 9 individuals killed June 17th in Charleston. Chris is a rising sophomore at Charleston Southern, a member of the baseball team. Funds will be used to meet his educational expenses at Charleston Southern. It's his wish that any remaining funds be applied to the planned Charleston Southern Baseball Enrichment Center in memory of his mother. So that is something that we can all become involved with. You can go to charlestonsouthern.edu to get more information. There is also an address to which you can send a check, but it's probably easiest for you just to go to charlestonsouthern.edu to get more information. And you had a little tweet about the NCAA in this situation.
Yeah, well, they're allowing Charleston Southern to raise money for him, and I said that's every now and then the NCAA gets things absolutely right, and they didn't hesitate here. And hopefully, money will pour in for that young man. How inspiring was it? The day after, less than 24 hours after losing his mother in that horrific incident, he's speaking to reporters and with such composure. It was uplifting to see. So hopefully that'll turn out well for him. By the way, May 18th, he was arrested. May 19th, Dabo released him from the team.
Okay, so there was no delay in Okundeko's case.
So maybe there's still some pending facts that Dabo's trying to gather. And this one, and because every case is different. We talked about this with him, and the coaches usually know way more than the media. Not usually, they do have access to more facts. But I was surprised that after reading the report, that wasn't an automatic, you're out of here.
And I'm also surprised, too, that, again, we're talking about a Clemson football player pulled over in, I guess you would say, broad nightlight. But I'm sure other students and maybe teammates had to know about this situation. I'm surprised that it did not pop up sooner on social media in some form or fashion. And here's the thing. He was immediately suspended. So it's not like there was a delay in the arrest and the suspension.
Yeah. They announced it today. They announced it today. The story out.
So here's the thing. They had no intention of letting anybody know about this unless it became public.
That's correct.
That's the bottom line. Now, should they – do you announce every suspension that you have within your program?
Would you? I don't know that I would. I don't know that I would feel my duty to announce every offseason.
There's some subtlety to things. I mean, in this case, just my thinking, I would not announce it because I want law enforcement and everybody to figure out where he got the cocaine from. And so if you start announcing it out, those who may have had it or whatever, so want to kind of keep that kind of quiet.
Well, I'm sure that as part of the questioning, he was asked who his dealer is and where he got it. And if he's smart, I'm sure he coughed up the information.
Or I don't know. Sometimes that's not a smart thing to do, depending on who that guy is.
I don't know. I'd sing like a jailbird or something.
Yeah.
If I was in that situation.
Swimming with the fishes.
We'll be right back. Right here on
Sleeping with the
SportsTalk.
fishes, I guess.
By the way, if you haven't noticed, it's a great day, not only in South Carolina, but in the country, because the Yankees won today. Ivan Nova back on the mound today off his Tommy John surgery back in April. Looked very good for the Yankees. Hammered the Phillies, break our little losing streak. So that's good. It's always good when your team wins early in the day. You should feel good for the entire day. Braves in action tonight back in Washington, game 2 of the series, and they lost last night to the Nationals.
Strasburg looked like the old guy that was good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hopefully we'll hear
good against Atlanta.
Mike will join us tonight, I take it, unless he's got some other appointments.
I don't know. He might be dining with the governor tonight.
Who knows?
He meets with all the dignitaries. He's 10 minutes from the studio, but couldn't come on with us.
He's a big wig.
Yeah, he is.
Speaking of big wigs, let's travel to Charleston. We will eschew the normal introduction once again for this week for obvious reasons. It is Jerome time here on Sports Talk. Jerome, welcome to your family here in Columbia. How are you?
What's up, family?
We're doing great. We're reaching out to you, Jerome, in this era of love thy neighbor as you would love thy girlfriend. We reach out to you.
Yeah. Hey, thanks. Hey, Phil, thanks to you and Kim Mack for talking for some of that P. Diddy love, okay? I appreciate it.
That's what we do here.
By the way, I have a question to Roger Goodell. Are you going to allow one of your most famous football players in the history of the National Football League to lie under oath in order to get away with something that he is up to his neck in? Because the owner and the coach have already thrown him under the bus. They're going to take their medicine and go home.
Here's my question. Here's my question. And Pro, this is probably in your in your neighborhood. Where does the NFL come up with the power to be able to force somebody to testify under oath?
They don't have that power.
It's not like, were they in a courtroom yesterday?
No.
Well, then how in the world was Brady testifying under oath? What oath?
Now, maybe if you go see an arbitrator, there's a way to do it. And that's the thing about the NFL. They go to these players and say, talk to us, and the players don't. And Brady told the NFL, give us your cell phone. He said no. And so the NFL says he's not cooperating with our investigation.
Well, I'm just trying to understand how, Jerome, maybe how does the NFL make one testify under oath?
They don't have subpoena power.
Well, go look at the stories. The stories where he testified under oath. Yeah.
But the National Football League.
Because Jerome, wait a minute, you have experience about testifying under oath, do you not?
Here we go again with the joke. So, party hard. No, I don't have experience. So, what about you? Do you have experience?
Yes, Phil does. But Phil has a criminal record.
Here's my question. My question.
I think I hit a nerve with you.
You do a reverse background check.
Here's my question. I'll be quiet.
You will be frightened.
How does one talk about deflated footballs and it takes you 10 hours to do it?
I'm just going to say this. Kornblut cannot be within 100 yards of an elementary school. I'll leave it at that.
Is that right? Thank you, Jerome. Appreciate the call. Jack Leggett coming up. Okay, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, from our studios on Main Street, downtown Columbia. We're so happy to have you with us. Phil Kornblut, Professor Tom Hayes, K-Mac, Kevin McCrary. Tonight is National Championship Night, the last sporting event of the college athletic year, a year that begins every year in late August and now runs to almost the end of June. It's longer than a NASCAR season, the college athletic season. It's the national championship game, winner take all, one-game showdown in Omaha for the national championship between the two Vs, the defending national champion Vanderbilt and Virginia. It's a rematch, same situation as last year. They played a one-game winner take all last year, and Vandy won that game for its first national championship. Virginia will try to do the same tonight and to bring the ACC its first baseball national championship since way back in the mid-'50s. And we're happy to have with us to break it all down. We can announce that former Clemson baseball coach Jack Leggett has a new job. He is the one-game analyst for the College World Series here on Sports Talk. Not getting paid anything except our complete, utter respect and admiration. Coach, how you doing?
Good, Phil. How you doing? Good
We're doing great.
guys.
Good to have you with us once again. And before we get into the game, just sort of bring us up to speed on what you've been doing the last couple of weeks. And, you've been watching a lot of baseball, perhaps, focusing in on the College World Series?
I've watched some of it for sure, because I've got had Sully and Corbs were in it, Jim Schlossnagle, guys that I knew, and of course, Virginia in there as well, and so I had some interest in the games for sure, and just been stepping back and figure out what my next step is, and still trying to take it all in and try to figure out what I'm going to do next. But I got my mind's working and I'll land on my feet somehow, somewhere.
Well, you've always got a spot on here on Sports Talk as a baseball analyst.
Yeah,
so
it's got to make you feel better, right?
Yeah, that's
good. I like that.
Yes.
I like that. I'd be fine with that.
Very easy job to do. All right, to tonight's national championship game, Virginia and Vanderbilt. You know both teams extremely well, both programs extremely well, and it's a rematch, same scenario as last year. So, first of all, what do you know about the pitching for tonight? Have you gotten an idea of who they're going to start each way?
Well, I think Vanderbilt's going to start Walker Buehler, and he's been 5-2 on the season, and he's a first-round pick, and he's had a tremendous season for him, and pitched extremely well last time out. I think he pitched against TCU and did a great job. And then Brandon Waddell will go, the left-hander will go for Virginia, and he's a guy that's been around the block. I've seen him pitch. We didn't play them this year, but I've seen him pitch a lot on TV, and he just knows how to pitch. He's got great experience. He's got really good control, and I think it's going to be a really good matchup. He's been successful. He and Zbors have been together, teaming up together. They beat Florida twice, I think, during the College World Series, and Florida had a great team and a really good offensive team. They shut them out once. The combination of those two guys together shut them out once, and so I think the combination of those two guys between Waddell and Zbors has been really good. Zbors is not available tonight, so that might be the difference in the ball game, I think, from the 6th, 7th, and 8th, 9th inning, maybe.
This Virginia team, in the preseason, they were picked number 1 by some. They struggled part of the year, only went 500 in ACC play, and didn't play all that well down the stretch, didn't play that well in the ACC tournament, yet, they kicked into high gear here in the postseason. What's the difference in this Virginia team now, say, mid-season of the regular season?
Well, you hit it right on the nose. They really had 3 different seasons, 3 thirds. The first third, they were really good. I don't know if they were 21-3 or something crazy early. Then they went through a period where they were under 500, I think, maybe, or close to it for middle third, and then 21-9 maybe in the last part of it. And they squeaked into the ACC tournament. They finished 7th in the conference, and had to beat, I think, North Carolina 2 out of 3 on the last weekend to get in the tournament. Finished 7th. They won the play-in game against Georgia Tech, then lost 3 straight games in the ACC tournament, and then came out of that and won 3 straight in the Lake Elsinore regional, and then beat Maryland twice, in the Super Regional. And so I just got to tell you, I think that's a tremendous coaching job, because you start out strong, you hit a lull in the middle, you finish strong. Then you have a little bit of a problem just coming into the ACC tournament and through the ACC tournament, and you go 0-3 after the play-in game winning, and then Brian got them together, and got them mentally where they need to be, and they came out and played well in California, then played well at home against, Maryland, and now they're playing exceptionally well out in the College World Series. So a heck of a coaching job by Brian and his staff at Virginia. And then Tim's staff, and Tim's team has been consistent all year long. They've come out of the gates, played well in every venue that they've played at, and every tournament they've played at, from the SEC tournament to the regionals, super regionals, and obviously playing really well out in Omaha. So they've got a very strong team. There's two teams that are matched up. They're probably underdog is Virginia. They've been playing like that with a little chip on their shoulder. And then, Vanderbilt's got a very athletic team with some outstanding pitching. So good matchup.
Mm-hmm. In a game like this, a winner-take-all game, do you naturally gravitate toward playing small ball, blowing guys over, or you want your hitters a little bit more aggressive?
It's not many people have been in that one situation where it's a winner-take-all thing. It's playing for national championship, and it's the last game and all that kind of thing. So, we've been in that situation where winner takes all in an ACC tournament or in a regional or a super regional. So you just got to play it. I would imagine just play it the same way you've been playing every game all season long. Play with confidence. Try to play it loose. Try to play it, just like you normally would a regular game. If you try to do something totally different, then players are going to probably feel it, and you'll end up probably not doing something that you didn't want to do. Doing something you didn't want to do before it's all over. But I will say this: it's all the games have kind of pointed to the fact that every one run counts and everything. 3-0 game. Waddell beat Florida earlier, and that was a 1-0 game.
Mm-hmm.
There was a 1-0 game, I think, on the same day, 2 1-0 games. Vanderbilt beat somebody's 1-0 as well. So, I mean, it can be, every game is certainly, every inning and every pitch and every run that's scored out there becomes a big one. So, there is a tendency to try to get your runs when you can, whether it be bunting early and getting the sacrifice fly to get the first run. I think the earlier you get ahead in this game, it's gonna serve you well.
Looks to me, I think Vanderbilt is the home team in this one, so they'll get the all-important last at bats. Is that, you look at this, you think it might come down to that bottom of the ninth situation where Vanderbilt's going to have a chance to get a walk-off national championship?
Those are all things that all coaches and players dream about in this situation, is having the last at-bat, getting a big hit. Obviously, you like to have it be over before it gets to that point, or, more in hand before it gets to that point. But that's certainly something that could be set up at the end. Is Virginia, I don't know about the relief pitching tonight without Spores. It's going to be tough. They're going to have to piece that together a little bit. Waddell's going to get them deep in the game. I think Vanderbilt's got some really good bullets late in the game, pitching-wise, beyond Bueller. And so the advantage may be a little bit back to them. But Virginia's been playing loose and confident and like an underdog, and that's sometimes a really good place to be. And they both got some freshmen. They both got some young kids that are playing real well for them. And that Clement kid last night got some big hits. And Woodruff, was a senior, didn't have many at-bats. Those guys ended up getting 6 of their hits last night, got some big hits at the end. And then you look at the Vanderbilt's freshmen, they got some, Toffee playing third base pretty well for them. The Kendall kid, they got the walk-off home run for him earlier in the tournament. And then he got some very experienced players with Swanson and Sanderwheel, who's got a big hit in that 1-0 game, big home run. And so they've got some athletes. It's a very athletic team. Vanderbilt's a very athletic team. It should be a very good matchup tonight.
I got 10 seconds. Who are you pulling for, the ACC or Corbin?
Oh, my gosh. Blood is thick. Corb's a great friend, but Brian's a really great friend, too. Both got great programs. Just going to watch it as a fan tonight and hope the best team who plays the best tonight wins.
All right, Coach. Thank you. Slap your mama. We have a Braves report tonight. Brought to you by Play It Again Sports off Bower Parkway in Columbia, where you pay less for more. By Founders Federal Credit Union, helping South Carolinians attain their financial goals. And by Mattress by Appointment, real simple. You call, you save 50 to 80% on premium mattress sets. Call 803-816-0577. And now a man who dines with kings and queens, but not with the paupers. It's Mike Morgan.
Greetings.
Good to have you with us.
It's good to be here. How are you?
We're doing fine.
How's morale?
Morale's very high.
Good.
Extremely
I like
high.
to hear that.
And yours?
I like to hear that. Fantastic.
Good.
Morale is very good. It's hot, but you know what? It's better than hot and cold.
Did you pick up the check last night for dinner?
Who?
I think you know the answer to that question.
Yes, I know you. I know the answer. To the
Yes.
Braves and the Nationals. Strasburg, very special last night, huh? First time back off the DL, looked pretty good.
You know, he's always had marvelous stuff. His problem has been staying healthy, and then I'm convinced a lot of times when he's been out there, he hasn't been particularly healthy, and it's shown in the results. And when I see a guy like Steven Strasburg with an earned run average hovering just under 5, that's a real puzzler. But when he's right, and last night, if you were watching, I mean, I'm looking at the radar gun, and not that that's the only gauge, but for a guy like him, it is pretty important, because when he's hitting 96, 97 routinely as he was, it just sets up everything else so well. So he had it all working, and that's obviously a bad sign for any opponent, including Atlanta.
Well, tell me tonight, I guess a pitcher that's been pitching in tough luck for a while with no decisions and some tough losses, Shelby Miller, he still continues to amaze with his stuff, and he's pitching well, just can't get a win. Yeah,
I mean, look, it was Julio Teheran's turn the last time to finally get a victory. Now, some of that Julio put on himself, particularly on the road, but he also has had, I believe, 3 games that he left the game in the lead and the bullpen blew it. Shelby Miller has had, I believe, 3 as well, where he's pitched well and then they blew it. Now, he's had a couple of hiccups. It's not all in the bullpen. He's had a couple of starts in the month of June where he just hasn't been nearly as dominating as he was in April and May. But this is a guy I still consider the ace right now, the guy that I want on the mound in this situation. So we'll see if he can take care of it. Of course, the Braves offensively a little bit limited with Freddie Freeman on the disabled list. Turdosovich will get the start again at first base tonight. But when you take Freddie Freeman out of that lineup, it really changes a lot of things. So Strasburg felt that difference last night. Hopefully that will not be the case for Jordan Zimmerman tonight.
And simply the case for Shelby Miller, who's pitched well. I mean, his numbers still remain outstanding, an ERA below 2, but he needs some offensive support. They've done nothing.
Right.
Isn't it amazing how sometimes it's just this one pitcher in your rotation, anytime his time comes up, the offense goes on vacation.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I still call it Greg Maddux disease, because if you remember when Greg was a Brave, I mean, he had 1 or 2 years where his win total was around 20, but the rest of the time he put up these ridiculous ERA seasons where it was under 2 when everybody was hitting home runs in the steroid era, and yet Greg Maddux would struggle to win 16 games because it just didn't hit for him. And sometimes that's just your luck. And this year that same syndrome has bestowed itself upon Shelby Miller. He's been the hard luck guy in that spot. So they need to get him going again. He deserves a win. It's been too long. It seems like it's been forever. Maybe tonight they can scratch up offense to get it going.
Okay, Mike, thank you very much. Good hearing from you. Great seeing you while you're in Columbia. Always pleasure spending quality time with you. Mike Morgan and our Braves report. Did you actually see Mike while he was in town? I heard he was in town.
Yeah, Mike and I had lunch yesterday. We thought about inviting you, but decided against it.
I wasn't worthy of an invitation to any of the meals. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The good news today in baseball, of course, as I mentioned earlier. Did I mention the Yankees beat Philadelphia?
Yes,
a couple of times. What did they do last night?
10-2. We won today. Tell you what, Yankees have been very offensive. Brett Gardner has been on fire. He's got the average almost up over 300. A-Rod's hitting almost over 300 now. Minnesota beat the White Sox.
You might be onto something. Him MVP.
Oh, I think there's any doubt.
Comeback
player of the year, no doubt.
You said MVP.
No, I said comeback player of the year and MVP.
Oh, okay. Both.
Hey, if we win the whole thing, he might be the MVP. If we win the whole thing, it'll be because of A-Rod. Minnesota beat the White Sox 6-1. Cleveland over Detroit 8-2. Toronto in 12 beat Tampa Bay 1-0. And going to the 10th, Houston and the Angels are tied at 1. To the recruiting reports we go here on Sports Talk. Offensive lineman John Simpson, Fort Dorchester, has not visited USC this month, and with a 2-week dead period starting Monday, he's thinking about paying a visit to the Gamecocks this week if possible. Said he's been in touch through social media with recruiters Everett Sands and Sean Elliott. They'd like him to come in before the dead period. He camped at Clemson in Alabama earlier this month for 3 days each. Was not able to make it to USC's camp the next weekend. He might return to Clemson for the all-in cookout in July. He also wants to LSU and Tennessee this summer. Side note, you see where South Carolina is going to have a cookout in July for recruits.
What are they calling it?
I don't know.
The cock out.
The cock out. I like that.
This is a guy that I say anything and his mind goes to the gutter.
That was the professor that said that.
Yeah, but if I would have said that, you came back. What are you talking about?
I like that. Or the cocky cookout.
There you go. The cocky cookout's a little better.
Cookie cutter.
Yeah. Anyway, or the copy cookout. Who's your? I like that. How about
our ice cold cocks cocked them in Omaha?
I like the copy cookout because they're copying what Clemson does. Anyway, following the Clemson camp, Simpson had the Tigers top of his list with Alabama second, USC third. Nothing has really changed with that. He said Clemson is at the top right now, but he hasn't visited anyone. He said, once I go back to Carolina, you never know, it might change how I feel about it. Right now, planning to announce to the U.S. Army All-American game, but he's not sure he'll hold off that long. No new offers for him in recent weeks. Linebacker Cash Daniel, Paintsville, Kentucky, last night took to Twitter for some reason to reaffirm his top three as USC, Kentucky, and Louisville in no order. Those three have been his top three really throughout the process. He's going to announce his decision on July 4th. Now the internet folks feel like it's going to be Kentucky. At one point, they thought it was going to be South Carolina. I'd like to have a job where I can just, change my mind at any given moment and still be allowed to be considered smart. Offensive lineman Will Putnam of Harrisburg, North Carolina, remains fixed with two schools at this point, USC and Virginia Tech. Looks like no decision will come from him until July. Visited North Carolina Saturday for Freak Night, but said neither the Tar Heels nor anyone else have stepped up with an offer, so he's set to choose between the Gamecocks and the Hokies. He attended USC's showcase camp early this month and visited Virginia Tech last week. Still plans to visit USC again with his parents before he makes his final decision. But again, he says it's USC, Virginia Tech tied at the top. Also today, defensive end Khalid Kareem of Farmington Hills, Michigan, committed to Alabama. He had a USC offer. And in basketball, the captain, Kerry Rich, reports that Irmo 6'2" guard Devontae Schuler, 2017 class, was offered by Clemson. Back in a moment.
Our ice-cold cocks cold-cocked them. Go Gamecocks! Our ice-cold cocks cold-cocked them. Go Gamecocks! Our ice-cold cocks cold-cocked them. Go Gamecocks!
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Welcome back into the program. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, the new baseball coach at the College of Charleston. They call him the Heater. Matt Heath, former LSU star, played a little professional baseball. And K-Mac made a great point last night. How many head coaches get to be a head coach at such a young age, but they've also served as hitting coach and pitching coach
at the same school,
and they become a head coach. This guy, very highly touted and very highly regarded. Monty Lee wanted to bring him to Clemson with him, but obviously the chance to be a head coach at a very successful program as the College of Charleston was too much to pass on. So we'll have him with us coming up at the bottom of the hour. In the meantime, we have open lines for a little while. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com. On Twitter at SportsTalkSC. Twitter's been very hot today. Our email's been very hot as well. People responding to the arrest of the Clemson football player. We'll talk more about that here coming up in just a little bit. Our email, talkback at sportstalksc.com. Our website is sportstalksc.com, and you can go there and vote. Our poll question remains the same, and that is, what are the expectations for Monty Lee in his first season as Clemson baseball coach? And on Facebook, it is Sports Talk Radio Network. All right, so that's everything that we have coming up for you here on the program in hour number 2 on this Wednesday night. The Clemson football team, guys, we'll talk about this for a little bit up after the upcoming break. But again, with a couple of arrests that have taken place, one player booted, another player suspended indefinitely. I don't know how you can not dismiss the player with the charges pending against him, such as they are. And I wonder. I'd like to know the difference between the two situations. Dick was arrested the next day. He booed. This kid was arrested back on June the 6th. He just remains suspended. Now, there could be some mitigating circumstances within the program where one has a has some credibility on his side. It works in favor with the coaching staff, and maybe one did not. I don't know the individual situations. I guess you don't make these situations these decisions across the board. You take them individually, and what happens in one case might not necessarily happen in another case, even though the charges are serious both ways, and one might look more serious than the other.
I would tell you this. Usually, you have a drug-free workplace, but you give the person for the first time, you want to see if he's addicted. Then you try to clean it up. It's almost like you're helping somebody. Versus somebody just stole, period.
That's maybe a fair point.
Yeah. Okay, we'll talk more about it coming up in just a moment. We're back on Sports Talk, talking about Clemson football and the situation after the arrest of Amon Lakip, the Tiger place kicker. So looking ahead to this coming season, guys, and we talk about Clemson football, we talk about them in glowing terms for the upcoming season. But with if Lakip isn't there to play, then you're talking about having to replace your place kicker, which, as you know, with games being played so close to the wire, can be extremely important, and having to replace your punter. And we know that Bradley Pinion was a big weapon for Clemson with his ability to pin teams back inside the 20, make them go 80 yards or more. The special teams at Clemson, that's a pretty significant loss if indeed he's not with the football team. And then I don't know what's going on with Isaiah Battle. Nobody's been able to pinpoint anything with him at this particular time. I know David Hood has been researching this to see what it's all about, and I don't know if this is just internet myth with him or not. Speculation that he's not going to be with the football team this coming season, but nobody's been able to pin it down. If he's not there, then you're talking about right now Mitch Hyatt stepping in as a true freshman and starting at left tackle, with Joe Gore starting as your other tackle, backed up by a true freshman, Jake Frew-Morgan. So all of a sudden, you have to have some concerns for Clemson as things are today. It could all change if Lakip is not dismissed from the team and if he's able to suit up in the fall. At the very least, if he sticks with him, he's going to have to be suspended game time wise. And it would be looked at jokingly if he's suspended for the first two games, because those are against Wofford and Appalachian State. Now, I know to a football coach, it's a game, and a game against any opponent is a serious game and not to be taken for granted. Mm-hmm. But I think in the public view, it would be looked at, and then all of a sudden he's reinstated for the Louisville game. It's going to be looked at as a suspension of convenience. I think if you're going to suspend him, it's got to have some
teeth.
Yeah, some teeth to it. He's going to have to suspend him at least through the first ACC game, I would think, if you're going to go that route. So, I've spoken continuously about a promising year for Clemson, but as time is moving on here, I'm growing more and more concerned about the team in several areas. Second, the backups on defense, second teamers on defense. How good will they be? And now some holes starting to crop up on the offensive side.
Well, the key point, as I said before, I thought the defense was going to take a step back anyway, because that was a tremendous defense. You don't have that many upperclassmen with that amount of talent, who, by the way, were thrust into the fray when they were young and got their brains beat in, as they admit to you, and they grew up and they were toughened. They were battle tough.
And remember, too, now, that defense got itself embarrassed by Georgia in the opening game last year. They were, up and down the field. Georgia,
they didn't have Crawford out there, and I think,
and they got worn out. I mean, they were in the heat, and then they got run over, and then
Georgia's offense was in the same heat. They didn't slow down.
Yeah, but they were going downhill.
And Clemson's offense was going 3 and out, right. And then they were getting a heavy dose of Nick Chubb and Todd Gurley, and the rest is history.
What do you think Nick Chubb's going to run for this year? Because you know Georgia's going to just rely on the running game. Got the entire offensive line is back. You got a horse like Nick Chubb. I mean, you got an inexperienced quarterback, whoever it turns out to be, whether it's a transfer from Virginia, he'll be inexperienced in terms of their system and their league, or somebody else. Boy, but defenses, guys, they're gonna put 7, 8 in the box against Georgia and dare them to beat them with the passing game.
First of all, I want to see how mentally where Nick Chubb is, because there's an old saying in the collegiate game, in the classroom, a little sophomoric knowledge is a dangerous thing, meaning you get through your freshman year, I got it made now, and then that's when you see sophomore
slump. Yeah.
Chubb was playing behind the ace. So when he comes in, hey, I can do this. Now you are the ace. Mm-hmm. Now how do you act? Now that's people say, well, he ran so well. Yeah, he's going to be bigger, stronger. Yeah, but you want to think, how is it he's going to be when the neck up, knowing now he's the man? Will it be too much pressure? Would he get big-headed? Is he able to carry the load, knowing that now he's the guy? So it'll be interesting to see how he handles that. And he probably will handle it well, but you never know till it happens.
It's going to be, the SEC East as we transition from Clemson over to the SEC. The SEC East is going to be a very interesting division. I think going into the season, there's not a team that you would point to, K-Mac, and say, that's a great football team on paper starting out. I mean, we talk about Georgia. I'm not even sure who's going to come away. The media, the bias in the media in the SEC, as we all know, I think they're going to have a hard time voting Missouri #1 in the East. But I don't know that you can vote Georgia or Florida or Tennessee #1 in the East. My guess is
Georgia
Tennessee
would be my pick.
I was going to say Tennessee.
Tennessee will get some votes.
Well, the way they finished, the players they have, Josh Dobbs at quarterback, who's, I think, a perfect fit for what they're doing now in that offense. He gives them the athleticism and the extra threat of the running game that Worley didn't give them at quarterback. And he throws a nice ball. He's got, good weapons around him, good-sized offensive line. I think Tennessee is probably going to be – I think that's who I'll vote for, #1 in the East. I think right now, as I think about it, I'd probably go Tennessee, Georgia, Missouri, South Carolina, Florida, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt. I think that's how I would vote.
Well, the interesting thing is
I could get behind that, I think.
Coaches notwithstanding, and they got a great secondary, but Florida lost some good people defensively. So their defense, I don't think, is going to be as salty. When I look at the SEC East the last couple of years, and forgive me if I go back to something that people don't like, but it was almost like a lumberjack match in wrestling. You avoid getting thrown over the top rope, and then Missouri avoided, and then they were able to bump the last person off the top rope. Here, I still think you're in that position where you don't know who's going to win. I think whoever catches the momentum early, gets comfortable with their new players, have a strong defense, that's the team that'll win it.
Well, I mean, just think about the race in the East. It has been between the most unpredictable.
Yes.
I mean, the West, what do? You predict Alabama, you predict Auburn, or you predict LSU, and usually one of those three turns out to be the one. The East, you've had South Carolina predicted. That came through once. Georgia's been predicted in recent years. I think that's come through once. Missouri, the last 2 years, I don't think either year Missouri was the preseason pick to win the division. No. So it's been a hard which if you're a South Carolina fan, that's got to give you some feeling of hope for the upcoming season, because the division is so unpredictable that a team that's thought of as being no better than third or fourth in the division rises up and sometimes wins the division. And I think with South Carolina's improvement on defense, which I'm expecting, I think a pretty solid special teams game in terms of kicking, because their punter's back, their place kicker's back. They've been solid there. Actually, the punter's not back, but they have a transfer punter who I think has got a chance to be pretty good. They have to improve in the return game and also in defensing the return.
Yes.
Because they have given up too many big returns and put their defense in crappy field position. All that being said, I think that the defense is going to be tremendously improved over last year. I don't think I think the one question mark for South Carolina, and it's a big one, is what kind of quarterback play. If Connor Mitch just gives them solid play, or Lorenzo Nunez or Michael Scarnecchia, and protects the football, doesn't have the bad unnecessary turnover, then I think they've got a chance offensively to be not necessarily potent, but decent.
Hand it off.
College of Charleston baseball coach Matt Heath going to join us here at the bottom of the hour break. How about this? NCAA proposal will let players return to school.
Yeah. I saw it today. They return to school. Say, for instance, you declare for the draft, and I think this is before the draft. It's not like somebody drafted out and you go back. No, you can change your mind and once you declare.
If you don't get drafted.
Why don't
they? No, I don't think it goes into the draft. I think it has to be several days for the draft.
I think that that's a nice idea. In fact, I think I thought they used to allow that. Was that not a rule previously for basketball or football? Or is it football? Is it football where if you put your name out there, then withdraw within a certain amount of time, you can go back to school? I think it's.
I don't know about that.
Why don't they allow these guys to? Why don't they apply the baseball rule here and allow them to be drafted? See where they are. They don't like where they're drafted, and
as long as you don't hire an agent, you just have to have an advisor.
Of course, part of the problem there is the college going out and recruiting in your spot. And all of a sudden, you don't have a scholarship.
In basketball, I'm sure coaches would not like that rule because they want to know who they have and who they don't.
Yeah.
But I think about it from a football standpoint, how many juniors come out and aren't drafted?
Yes, exactly.
And then they don't have a team. They're not playing anywhere. You'd like to find a spot for those guys if there's a way they could reimburse their agents for whatever they
why not just
it'd be opening a can of worms. I get that.
Why not just give a school a one-spot exemption for the player who declares for the draft?
But South Carolina would have had to make a decision last year between Kelsey Quarles and Vic Hampton because both of those guys came out.
I'm talking basketball.
Yeah.
Maybe in football you give them a 2 or 3 spot.
Yeah.
Give them an exemption. You got the money to cover the scholarship.
Well, you'd have more guys coming out and going into the draft. That's why college coaches would not like this rule because they want to know. They like that. Here's when you have to declare. So now I know how many spots I'm going to have.
Yeah. NBA draft coming up tomorrow. Of course, a lot of rumors out there about possible trades and this, that, and the other. Teams trying to move up. Teams trying to position themselves to snag certain guys. A lot of intrigue, as we go into the draft tomorrow night. Not too much intrigue, I guess, about the number 1 pick, but after that, a lot of questions about what's going to happen.
Well, I think the key point is the smart teams, and I'm going back to San Antonio, is that a lot of teams now are going to the point where they will pinpoint a guy they want, but may not be ready. But they'll send him either overseas, keep his rights, put him in the D League, which San Antonio does that a lot. And you come back and then people ask, well, where did San Antonio get this young guy from? A lot of them are going to the player development route, saying that, look, you don't know when you're going to find a sure thing. And let's face it, everybody's golden boy right now, Steph Curry, was not a sure thing. When he got drafted, his ankles kept getting injured. They said we were worried about his ankles when he was at Davidson, but look at him now. And then you get one that you say, oh, well, he's going to be a gem, and then he's out of the league in 3 or 4 years. In other words, it's a crapshoot.
Always is. We'll be back with Matt Heath, College of Charleston, in a moment. And we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, downtown Columbia. Glad you're with us tonight. Thank you for making Sports Talk a very important part of your day. You should do that every day. Keeps you healthy. Keeps you on the cutting edge of the sports world here in South Carolina. Been a crazy couple of weeks, of course, with the revolving door from the College of Charleston to Clemson in the baseball coaching jobs, but everything is secure now for the most part. Got to hire some assistant coaches, I guess, at both places. It was Monty Lee officially introduced at Clemson earlier this week and then officially introduced as his replacement at the College of Charleston yesterday. Assistant coach Matt Heath, and he joins us now here on Sports Talk. First of all, congratulations to you and welcome to the program. First of many interviews we hope with you as the head coach of the Cougars.
I really appreciate it, and I'm glad you text me to be on the radio show.
Well, it's our pleasure, and congratulations. And I don't know, has your head been spinning a little bit the past few days about the new job? How exactly have things been going for you?
Spinning is an understatement. There's been a ton of stuff going on. It's kind of a whirlwind, so to speak, here. And it actually feels like it's kind of starting to slow down, and I'm getting I'm wrapping my arms around this thing.
Yesterday had to be extremely special for you. It was your day, your news conference, and then Monty Lee, shows up there as well to show his support for you. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it's funny because you get a lot of attention, and I've gotten more attention the past few days than I've ever gotten before. Probably except when I was born, the day I was born. But, it's unbelievable and it's very humbling. And I really don't think that this attention and everything is deserving, to be honest with you. I appreciate it. It's just humbling and it's very touching. And the fact that, the story with Monty is he worked till 1 a.m. that night. He got up at 5:30 a.m. and he drove to be there. And Monty Lee, it's like I said, me and Monty, long after we're done coaching, we'll be chasing white-tailed deer across the state of South Carolina.
Well, look out for you two. Did you ever seriously get a chance to consider the offer to go to Clemson as pitching coach, or did that never really materialize in your mind?
Yeah, there's no doubt. When Monty was the head coach at College of Charleston, and some things started happening at Clemson, and he was going in for an interview, Monty told me he wanted to take me 100%. And I told Monty I was in 100%. I had not been approached, at all by the College of Charleston. And, I was not looking to replace Monty Lee at the time. I was looking to stay with my best friend.
Do you feel ready for the head coaching job?
No doubt. I think there's a lot I'm going to learn, a lot I want to learn. And I'm looking forward to that. But when I look back on my career and all the struggles I had as a player, I played for Skip Bertman. I played for Andy Lopez. I played for Smoke Laval. Gary Henderson was an assistant on that team. Mark Wazakowski was a coach. He's now in Oregon. And of course, Gary, to go back to Gary, he's the head coach. So I played for a slew of guys that I picked up stuff from. And, I learned a lot. I wish I would have learned a lot more, because I sat on the bench some too as a player.
Mm-hmm. 2 years at Florida, 2 years at LSU, led LSU in home runs and runs scored in 2002. So you were a guy. Here's the interesting thing about you that we were talking about. I mean, you're a great hitting coach. You're obviously a great pitching coach. How many coaches excel in the role of both hitting coach and pitching coach? I don't think you hear very much about that kind of combination.
I think there are guys that actually can do both. I think the problem is you have to have a very bold and confident guy, and that's what Monty Lee was, to actually say, who cares? I know you've been doing hitting, because that was the first question he got was, hey, Heater's been doing hitting. He's been doing hitting. What are you going to do with a guy who's a hitting guy? How are you going to sell that? And he goes, that'll take care of itself. And of course, I guess the rest is history. It has been a good run, and it's been a fun run, man. My kids have been outstanding. They bought into the system, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like the support from your returning players was very strong, that, hey, the opening is here. Let's keep Coach Heath and make him the head coach. That's got to make you feel good to know the guys that you've been recruiting and working with. They want you to be around as their leader now.
Yeah, I actually, to be honest with you, I called a few of the guys on the team because I've been coaching, pitchers, and I text some guys, and I just, and call some guys and wanted to fill them out. I asked, a couple of guys, do you want me to be your head coach if this happens? I feel like if you don't, have the players' blessing as well, then it's going to be a tough transition. And the support I got from all the returning players, the guys that are in-house, it was across the board. Like that was also amazing for me because I expected maybe one or two guys to be like, I don't know, but they were all, they were all on board.
Now, making that transition from assistant coach to head coach, you kind of go from being that good cop to sometimes having to be that bad cop in dealing with the players and the personalities. Making that transition for you, how will you handle that aspect of the job?
I mean, I think I've actually done a little bit of both. I think that's one thing that made me and Monty so good together. And I can do both and encouraging and lay the law when it's needed. But I think at the end of the day, as a coach, if you say one thing negative, you need to say 20 things positive. And I had a conversation with Skip the other day, and he was like, the first year, just make sure, you put a good fence around what you want to do and make sure it's tall and strong. And I think that's going to be what I'm going to focus on more. What kind of brand of baseball we want to play, what type of focus on fundamentals we're going to have. And then after that, it's going to just be, hey, let's go out and compete.
I tell you what, we had gotten so used to the College of Charleston and the Southern Conference. I know I struggle. I look at box scores the next day, and I'm looking at the Southern Conference for College of Charleston. Then I have to catch myself and say CAA. So you had to undergo that transition. How has that been? And has that opened your recruiting territory traveling up to some of the northeastern states?
When that first happened, we were all very hesitant about it as baseball coaches because everybody knows you want to play in the Southeast. I mean, that's just, across the country, you want to play in the Southeast, Texas and California where it's warm. But this change has been extremely good for us. Yes, we have got in this class, and the move has been really good. I mean, if you think about our run the past couple years, I mean, I think it's been a blessing in disguise.
Do you so I guess you have to hire a pitching coach to replace you, or are you going to handle that?
I'm going to stick with pitching. I think it would be really tough for a pitching guy to come in and run his system, and I really want my assistants to coach. Just because that's been my baby, and I don't think that I think that it would a guy would struggle with that. I sure would. So I want to look elsewhere with that, and I'm going to have a major hand in the pitching.
Mm-hmm. So when you look to fill the spot, what will you be looking for?
I think for me, I think this game is based off of recruiting and good coaching. I think a lot of guys out there think it's just about recruit. I think a lot of guys sit back and say, I'm that good a coach. Well, I don't think I'm that great at either, so I got to work real hard at both. And we're going to recruit as much as we can and coach as much as we can. Will
you play Clemson?
Oh, yeah. To be honest with you, that schedule hadn't been released, but in 2016, we'll see what happens there.
Okay. Coach, congratulations once again. Look forward to talking to you many times and continued success with the Cougars.
I really appreciate it. Anytime, guys, give me a call.
You got it. Thank you. Matt Heath, known as the Heater, down at the College of Charleston. And we thank him for being with us tonight. Yep, that's going to be nice when Charleston and Clemson get together. We got to love the baseball programs we have in our state. Throw Coastal Carolina in there, Winthrop as well. It's good to have these high-quality programs going head-to-head. Back in a moment. Thanks again to Matt Heath for joining us here on Sports Talk tonight. 800-956-7266, the phone number here in our final major segment of the program. If you want to join us with a comment, a question, an observation, praise is always fine. Heck, if you can find something to criticize, we'll take that as well. I'm not sure you could probably criticize K-Mac for something he said tonight, but otherwise, I'm not sure what else you can criticize.
I think I've had a pretty clean show.
You think so?
Clean show for K-Mac tonight.
The expectations for Monty Lee's first season at Clemson, that's our poll question on our website, sportstalksc.com, and right now it's still dead even, 35% saying a regional, 35% saying a winning season. 30%, almost 14% saying a College World Series appearance. I think that would be a minor miracle for Clemson in 2016. Maybe the first time in a while where I don't think Tiger fans should sit their sights on Omaha going into a season and maybe undersell the program a little bit publicly and let them overachieve and surprise you.
Yeah, and that would take the pressure off the team also, because I think they've been under a lot of pressure the last couple of years under Jack Leggett, and guys don't play, they're not machines, they're human, and they know what's going on, and they know that they may be playing for their coach's job, and that's a lot of pressure. So now they decompress, and plus the coach should have at least a 2 or 3 year honeymoon, I think.
I would think so as well. 800-956-7266 is our phone number, and a lot of comments on our story that we broke last night at sportstalksc.com on the arrest of Clemson place kicker Amon Lakip facing DUI and cocaine possession charges, and thought I would share some of the thoughts with you.
This
here.
ought to be good.
Well, of course, the Gamecock fans are chiming in on this.
Oh, of course.
They're having a blast. Cocky Mike, he says, man, arrested on the 6th and word didn't get out for over 2 weeks. Looks like somebody has let down, quote, the family, end quote, and let this tidbit of information get out erroneously. Wasn't it Clint? That must be somebody else who writes in that called UGA Thug U because of the arrest. Well, UGA has had 0 arrests since the end of last year's regular season, and now, quote, the family, end quote, has had 2.
It happens everywhere, though.
Looks like we have a brand new Thug U.
If you live in a glass house, don't throw stones.
But nobody would have bet Clemson would have more arrests at the end of June than Georgia. Georgia is the Fulmer Cup should be named the Bulldog Cup these days.
Well, maybe they got a new system in Athens.
Well, I mean, when does Georgia's what's the height of their arrest season? There's football season at Georgia, there's recruiting season, and there's arrest season.
Usually seems to be June 1st to about July. They have to get through the 4th of July weekend. That's when they had their kicker went out there. I think got a BUI on 4th of July weekend not long ago out on a boat. So, and he didn't play against Clemson, and they missed a big kick that game.
You're exactly right. Larry says, why wait to kick him off the team for good now? I thought Dabo only recruited good Christian young men. Just can't believe that God's chosen coach at Clemson would wait 1 day before kicking him off for good.
That's just you see, you just went the opposite way.
Randy says, same old
think he'll be
Clemson.
kicked off, though.
Same old Clemson trying to sweep things under the rug. They are obviously desperate. They don't have a reliable replacement for him. That's why they hid it for 2 weeks. Dabo was getting all kinds of praise for kicking the last guy off, one and done. Now this guy has cocaine and he's getting a suspension? Question mark. Well, again, I don't they acted quickly as far as suspending him, but they weren't going to publicize it unless somebody found out about it. And we did. Let's see here. This is from Clint. He was arrested on the 6th of June by campus police, not the 11th by Pickens County. A professional would have his facts straight. Well, actually, the original story I had based on the information I had late last night, early this morning, the report date I saw and acquired said the 11th of June. And then later, the official police report, I can't explain. The official police report had it as the 6th of June.
Maybe that site didn't get it till the 11th, and that's where it was posted.
I don't know. I checked several different ones. Now, I didn't see the official police report until this morning. And I said in the original story, Pickens County, because I did not have any definite location, campus, city of Clemson. Anyway, he said, I'm sure you didn't have the time to get the facts straight. You were so eager to publish something about one of the Clemson players. I know why you kept bringing up the family issue when Jack got fired. You were not upset Clemson kicked Jack out of the family. You are jealous Clemson doesn't want you in.
Oh, you're not all in. You are not all in. There's no seat at the table.
All right, national championship baseball game tonight, Vanderbilt and Virginia. I picked Vandy to win the whole thing. I'll stick with Vandy with Bueller going tonight. How about you?
Well, I went against a grain, and it's baseball. Just grasping at straws. It could go either way, but I did pick Virginia, the ACC, trying to win their first College World Series title since 1955 when Wake Forest, that mighty Wake Forest Demon Deacon baseball team, won it in 55.
And former USC athletic director Eric Hyman, he chimes in with his pick.
Our ice cold cocks cold cocked them. Go Gamecocks!
Yeah. We're on the 5-year anniversary of that infamous speech of the celebration at Colonial Life Arena. Gamecocks' first
That's
College
hard to
World Series
repeat.
title.
That's just our ice cold cocks cold cocked them.
Yeah, and he
Go
dropped the
Gamecocks!
mic after that, Charlie Murphy style, and walked off the stage. And the reaction, I think it was Wingo was in the background. They're all just, did he just say, what did he just say?
They were so giddy. Let's face it, it was the first time. They were so giddy.
And the way they won was incredible. But that wasn't Eric Hyman on being a wordsmith, and I'm sure he was thinking about that the whole way over there.
Oh,
I'm going cold. He cold cocked them, ice cold.
Pop open a cold one.
How long will it be before the Gamecocks get back to Omaha?
It'll happen. They'll be. It's not easy to get there. They went 3 straight times and didn't win and struggled, and then they went about 4 or 5 years where I was in Atlanta when they lost a regional against Georgia Tech. I was in Greenville, North Carolina, when East Carolina beat them in a regional. It's not easy to do it every year. Now, they usually go to super regionals. During that hiatus, they were making it to supers, but they lost at Virginia. They lost at North Carolina. NC State beat them in a
Didn't
regional.
they lose one up at Virginia? That was a regional or
No, I think they actually won that regional. They found a way to back themselves into winning the regional at Virginia, but then lost in a super regional in Athens, Georgia.
No, that's it. Yeah.
And let's face it. Well, as Ray Tanner once said, that Skip Bertman told him, when you
least expect
like Virginia this year,
right? Because nobody.
Well, I mean, it's like we said with Jack, like you pointed out, they don't win the play-in game of the ACC tournament. They probably don't make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
and here they are playing for the national championship.
And of course, one year that South Carolina lost in the College World Series is one of the years that CBS had the broadcast and turned it into one game. Remember?
Well, it was always that.
No, I'm talking about. But
this was the year before they went.
No, but what I'm saying is, I think it wasn't double elimination though. They just had the one game.
That's right. Yeah. They didn't have the series like they have now. I think it was the next year they started the best 2 out of 3 series, which raises the question regarding Virginia. I mean, what's important, the regular season or the postseason? You'd be very average in the regular season, but great.
Just get in and win.
Yeah.
Just get in. That's it.
That'll do it for tonight. Thank you, State Man. Thank you, Larkin. K-Mac Pro. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.